Welcome to the Hockey Writers Blackhawks Banter, a weekly show with our top Chicago Blackhawks writing crew, bringing you the latest news, rumors, trades, player grades, game results, and much more. From training camp to the playoffs, from Chelsea Dagger to the Madhouse on Madison, our team covers everything that happens with the Hawks. So get comfortable, grab a beverage. It's time for some Blackhawks Banter. Blackhawks Banter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 75 of Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. It's the Alec Regula episode, which I'm actually, fun coincidence because we're actually going to be talking about him later, but I'm so excited we actually made it this far. But I'm your host for tonight, Brooke LoFurno, joined by my colleague, Gail Kauchak, and obviously it was another tough week for the Blackhawks with losses to Calgary, LA, San Jose. We have a lot to cover, so let's just get right into it. We have to talk about, obviously, the week that was. So the only win that came was against Arizona, which was kind of expected at this point. But we have to talk about what made and broke their week. And Gail, you wanted to talk about patience with defensive woes. So what you got?
Yeah, so I guess I would just like to ask our listeners and everybody following along to just have a little bit of patience with all these defensive woes. I know it's tough to do that because everybody's frustrated with all this losing. But I just want to point out, first off, they are without their arguably one of their best defensemen in Connor Murphy, who's in concussion protocol. He actually might not be in concussion protocol anymore. He's been practicing, but they are holding him out just to be safe for the rest of the season. So makes sense, essentially meaningless games. So instead, you've got a couple of prospects in there. You've got Alex Vlasic and Alec Regula. And, do you really think they'd be playing these kids if the focus was on winning? We know the focus really isn't on winning right now. So you've also got Calvin DeHaan and Eric Gustafson, who likely aren't going to be with the team next year, but they're still playing them. They're kind of putting them in the rotation, probably to showcase them perhaps for a potential trade or, just kind of to be fair. And then this leaves Riley Stillman, Caleb Jones, kind of the odd man out. They're also part of this rotation. They both got like 2 of the last 4 games, and I think Riley Stillman is supposed to play tonight. We're recording on Monday, but you'll see this on Tuesday. So I think it's Stillman that is supposed to play. So basically you have Vlasic and Regula that are getting thrown into the fire. They're making a lot of mistakes. As a matter of fact, in the Sharks game, the last game, they both made mistakes that led directly to goals. But what a great opportunity for them to learn and develop and to learn from their mistakes when really these are meaningless games. And they both got their first NHL goals this past week. So that was nice to see. I guess my point here is that even though it's not really fun to watch all this losing, the Blackhawks right now, they're experimenting, they're evaluating, especially on the back end. This isn't exactly helping the winning cause, but we really have to remember that that's just not the point right now. So.
Yes, I definitely agree with that. If they were in the playoff hunt, this would be a completely different conversation. We'd be like, there's no way these mistakes can happen, but this is the perfect time for them to do that. There's no pressure. There's no playoff hunt. They're just riding out the season, and you want them to get these little kinks out now. And that's the part of growing. And you know what? It's painful. Like you said, they're painful. But you know what? That's what you want to see, though. Just get them acclimated, and that will definitely help their development. And that's really all you want at this point in the season is to let these guys play, get acclimated, and then that will help them surely going into next season for sure.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. But I wanted to talk about the fact that there's no accountability with this team. And I think I've said this about 20 times before, but I felt like there was something that really irked me about it this week. Obviously, the shots on goal, you could see it. What was there? Like against LA, there was like 6 shots on goal going into the second period. There's just no effort, no heart from this team. And obviously, most of these players are playing for contracts. Basically, everyone is, and they're not playing like it. And you know what? Like Derek King said, play for pride, play for respect, play for something. You have something to play for. And the fact that they're not, I don't know. I don't like what I'm seeing at all. There's just nothing there. And Derek King also mentioned something that kind of irked me. This is the part that's irking me a little bit. He said they're mentally and physically tired. Now, I understand I'm not a professional athlete, so I don't know the grind of the NHL. I am sure it's tiring, but they've used this excuse a lot. Even going back to December, they said they're tired. And at this point, I'm kind of like, well, are any of the NHL teams not tired at this point? Like everyone's going through the same grind. you are. Every team's got this condensed schedule because of the lost weeks there with the shutdown. And so it's almost like that's kind of a cop-out, in my opinion, to say you're tired. Just admit that what's going on is not working. And I don't know, it just feels like there's just nothing there. There's no accountability. Everyone's just kind of going through the motions, and it's really painful. And I don't like that, because like I said, there's something to play for here. People are playing for contracts, and there's just nothing there. And that's what's really kind of disheartening, and it really makes you kind of realize that this team really does need complete overhaul. If they don't want to play here, fine, but we shouldn't have to keep witnessing it no matter, even though they're not in the playoffs. So this can't continue to happen. This no accountability thing can't happen going forward. It's just creates a really bad culture, I think. But moving on to sorry, that's my venting session. Yeah, that's my venting session of the week. You guys know this. I get my 1 or 2 minutes of venting, but moving on. Okay, had to get that out. Sorry, that was weighing on my mind. So one of the biggest stories of the week was that Lukas Reichel was sent down after the morning after the Calgary game. So that was Tuesday morning. Obviously that was kind of unexpected or expected, depending on how you want to look at it. He was up a lot longer than we thought. He was up for 6 games. So honestly, we have to talk about that for a minute. So was it the right decision, Gail?
You might disagree, I know, because I read the article that you wrote. Great article, by the way, about Lukas Reichel. But yes, I really do think it was the right thing. And I guess some of you might be wondering, why they sent him down literally 2 games after burning the first year of his contract. But I think that they were planning all along of burning his contract. I really do. That way he's 1 year younger when his entry-level contract runs out, and he won't be really an established NHL player yet. So I think that the hope is to sign him to a bridge contract and maybe buy some time before they have to pay him the big bucks in his 3rd contract. Who knows if that'll happen or not, but I really don't think they were too concerned about it. Maybe he would have stayed up a little bit longer, but I know that down in the Ice Hogs, Brett Connolly, and I believe someone else, I'm not sure who, but both of them got injured right around this time. And I think they needed Reichel to secure a spot for the playoffs for the Rockford Ice Hogs. The organization has made it very clear that it's important for them for the Ice Hogs to make the playoffs, especially since obviously the Blackhawks aren't going to. And they did actually clinch on this past Saturday night, and Reichel had an assist in the game, so that tied him for 51 points, rookie points. And then the next night he had 2 more assists, 53 points. So basically he's broken the franchise record for the Ice Hogs. 53 points. It was 51 points. By Vinny Hinostroza, by the way. Little fun fact there. Vinny Hinostroza had it in
We miss you, Vinny.
2015-16 season. But now the reigning champion is Reichel. So him and the rest of the Piglets will get to play some meaningful hockey down the road. And I think that's good for all of them.
Yes. We have to give a shout out to the Rockford Ice Hawks because they'll be in the playoffs. So at least we get some playoff hockey. And at this point, could the Baby Hawks beat the actual Blackhawks? Probably at this point. So good. That makes it good for our farm system, to be honest. But so overall, actually, you know what? I kind of agree in some sense. I know this kind of goes back and forth because there's reason for him to stay up and reason for him to go back down. But honestly, after they burned his contract, after they kind of made that clear, at that point, I was like, let him play at that point, because if you're going to burn the year of his contract, now his contract officially kicks in, you might as well let him play it out, get the most out of his contract. But there was only 6 games left at that point. So I was like, okay, let him get acclimated, let him get the kinks out again, like we talked about already. I was okay with that, but I am okay with him going down too. But I did advocate for him staying up with the Blackhawks. But like I said, I'm okay with him going back down too. I know he was the leading point producer and they needed him for the playoff push. And so it'll be interesting to see.
I really do think that they might have kept him a little bit longer if it wasn't that they felt like, oh my gosh, we got to make sure the Ice Hogs make it in. And it would have been good to see him, it would have really been, I think he would have grown and progressed even that much more. So it's a bummer, but I think it was the best business decision.
It probably was, but I think I am leaning more towards I would have liked to see him stay up. But like I said, I'm okay with him being down too. It goes back. There's benefits to both, but I kind of saw more benefits to him staying up for the remainder of the season, especially because they were doing well without him too. They were 4-1 without him. The Rockford, the Ice Hogs were. So like I said, it's okay. You know what? It's okay. We're getting to the finish line, whatever at this point. At least we got to see him. So that, I guess, brings me to my second point. What did you think overall of his play in 6 games with the team, Lukas Reichel?
Well, unlike the other 2 times when he was up, when he was up before, he was mostly centering the top line, Brandon Hagel and Patrick Kane. But this time around, he was more on the third line, some at center and also some at wing. So I think this time around, they maybe were, well, obviously putting him in a different position to see how he does, but maybe even seeing what kind of a playmaker he can be on his own without, just complimenting the big guys. And for the most part, I think he did pretty well. He didn't really stand out one way or another. This is good because he could have made some glaring mistakes, and I don't really recall any of those. He did get his first NHL point, secondary assist on Dominic Kubalik's goal. I believe it was the Nashville Predators. Yeah, Nashville Predators. So, a little bit different deployment. I have actually heard that he's going to be staying here over the summer, staying in Chicago and training with Paul Goodman, the Blackhawks head strength and conditioning coach. And I'm sure that they're going to be looking to add some weight and strength for him for next season. So this is a good thing. Excited for him where he's going to come in training camp and down the road.
Yes, Paul Goodman is very good at what he does for sure. So I have a feeling he'll probably come in a lot stronger, maybe even bigger. But I kind of agree. Like we talked about before, if you don't stand out on the Blackhawks, it's a good thing, because if you do, it's usually for something very bad. But I did think he was more noticeable in this stint for sure, like in a good way. Before it was kind of like he had maybe like a shift where it's like, oh, that was really good. But I felt like this time he was definitely more noticeable by game. And if I did see something, it was positive from him. He had a lot of shots, a lot of scoring chances, especially. Like I felt like he could have had maybe 4 goals by the time he was here. So I have nothing but positive things to say about what I saw. I know he has a long way to go, but you want to see just growth. And I think from the one stint to the other, that's what we saw. So that's a good thing. So hopefully he continues to do well in Rockford, and go Piggies. We're going to keep saying that now. This is a Rockford Ice Hawks fan account now.
Yeah.
For sure. So that brings us into our other rookies that, like I said, I mentioned this is the Alec Regula episode, and this is where we're mentioning him. So Alec Regula and Alex Vlasic, you know what? These names are tongue twisters when you put those two together. I feel like I'm always going to have issues with that. I'm going to be mixing these guys up a lot.
Wait. I have a cheater for everybody I want to share. Okay. You ready?
Uh-huh.
X is in Vlasic. Now, X isn't really in Vlasic, but if you say X goes with Vlasic, right?
Uh-huh.
So, no, X goes with the pickle. That's what it is. X in the pickle. So it's Alex Vlasic pickle. And then by default, then you have Alec Regula.
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot.
Pickle. Yeah.
Yes, the pickle. I love it, actually. I need this to be on the broadcast. But so again, that helps. But so Alex Vlasic made his way back into the lineup this week after facing multiple healthy scratches in the past month. Oh gosh, that poor guy was healthy scratched so many times. And Alec Regula was called from Rockford on April 12th and played in 7 games so far. So on a positive note, both players got their first NHL goals this week in back-to-back games, Regula against Calgary and Vlasic against Arizona. So what has impressed you the most about these two this past week?
Their size. Both are big. 6'6" for Vlasic and 6'4" for Regula. So they're both big physical bodies, but yet they can both still skate pretty well. Which sometimes is harder when you're big. So they both seem to be holding their own in the NHL, and it's just the experience is great for them and the development and getting them a taste of the big leagues.
Yes, their size. That makes me laugh because I know, I think they said that on the broadcast too. It's like now all of a sudden our decor is huge because Seth Jones is like 6'4", Connor Murphy 6'4", and then you add all those people. It's pretty big now. They're trying to get, bigger. I guess that doesn't hurt. But they, like you said, they play well. They play very smoothly for their size, which is what you want to see. They don't look like newborn deer out there. Let's put it that way. So I'm actually impressed with how smooth they play, because Vlasic, I think he had instances where he was kind of invisible, but now this week, I think he looked more comfortable, at least, where Regula seemed to kind of settle right in. There's just something about him that just makes a positive impact on the ice, which I'm really impressed with. So I'm actually impressed with both of them with how they've grown this past week. They got the first NHL goal. They've been known for offensive capabilities in the past. So now we finally got to see that, which has been nice to see. So I'm impressed with their development and how they're playing right now. It's a very kind of smooth transition so far, although a couple hiccups, but overall, it's okay, in my opinion. So I guess my question is, I know the hype is kind of bigger on them right now because they scored their first NHL goal and the way they're playing. Do you think either of these two are the makings of a number one defenseman?
That's kind of tough to say because, they're so young. But I think that they're both a little bit more defensive minded than the offensive upside. So a number one defenseman might be a bit of a stretch. But that being said, I do think that they both have the ingredients to be excellent defensemen in the NHL. Like I said, 20 and 21 years old. So it's a good sign to see them here and doing as well as they are so far, because the ceiling, I think, is pretty high for both.
Yeah, they are really young, but to be honest, I don't see it. I don't see them being number one defensemen, and that's okay. You don't need to be a number one defenseman to be good in this league. It's a very kind of hard mark to make, but they might be really good, just depth defensemen, and that for the Blackhawks is great. That's not a bad thing at all. They have potential. That's what you want to see. I don't think it's number one potential, but like I said, that's completely okay. Just as long as they play to their strengths, I think they'll be just fine. Nothing wrong about that. Plus, Seth Jones was going to be the number one defenseman for the next 8 years. So there's no pressure for them to be. Let's put it that way.
As long as they can complement, right?
Yes, exactly. Because
Seth Jones and the Connor Murphys. And
right, exactly. They've been needing that for so long.
Not a number one defenseman either, but
yeah, exactly.
A good defensive defenseman. Excellent.
Yes, exactly. We just need able defensemen. That's it. It's not really a high bar. So that brings us to our mid-show reminders. We're halfway through our show. You are watching Blackhawks Banter presented by the Hockey Writers. I'm your host, Brooke LoFurno, with my colleague, Gail Kauchak. Please be sure to follow us on Twitter. Our usernames are on the screen. Like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode. We update weekly on Tuesdays. And this is also presented by the Hockey Writers Sports Betting Guide, a brand new source for your daily sports betting odds, lines, props, and futures, as well as some daily fantasy strategies and analysis. Make sure you follow THW Bets on Twitter and Facebook to get the latest on everything sports betting. And we do encourage you to bet responsibly. We're all about having fun, but please be responsible. And like I said, check that out. If you're into that stuff, I highly recommend it. And that brings us into our next topic. Our player shoutouts of the week for players that stand out to us for either good or bad reasons, but it seems like we picked the ones that stand out for good reasons, which we need because this season has been so miserable. So Gail, you wanted to talk about Tyler Johnson, which I'm excited about.
Yes, it's much more fun to talk about standout players than stand down players, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, Tyler Johnson, I would like to mention, veteran forward, missed most of the season, as you know, due to his neck surgery. And then shortly after he returned, he was out a couple months with concussion protocol. So this poor guy has had a tough season. And we as fans really haven't gotten to know him very well. But he's been back most of the month of April. And the last 4 games, he contributed 2 goals and the primary assist. He's been playing on the second line with Jonathan Toews and Dominic Kubalik. So up there in the top 6. And it's, imagine what kind of contributions he could have made if he was healthy all season. But that's neither here nor there because he wasn't, and they weren't as successful as we would have liked them to have been. But Tyler Johnson is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. He is used to playing in a winning culture with the Tampa Bay Lightning. He's 31 years old. He's been around the block, pretty smart and savvy guy. I've watched a couple of interviews and he's just kind of has it all together. As a matter of fact, I'd like to share what he said the other night after the Sharks game. Here's a quote from him. I think our compete and everything are there. I just think our decision making, we make the game way too difficult. We're all over the ice. We just kind of play one-on-one battles instead of play as a team. We've got to do a better job of playing as a team. So, and he knows what it's like to play on a good team. And I think he has a pretty good idea of some of the insight that it might take to make the Blackhawks a better team. Now, I don't know what the plan is with Johnson moving forward. He makes a hefty salary of $5 million for the next 2 seasons. So that's kind of tough. Because of that, he might be a candidate for the Blackhawks to buy him out. But depending upon what Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane decide to do, whether they're going to stick around or not, I think a lot of that depends upon what they're going to do with Tyler Johnson. And I could see Tyler Johnson being a nice, good veteran presence for the rebuild.
I agree. I like Tyler Johnson a lot. I liked him the second the Blackhawks traded for him. And I know he's got a hefty salary, but I like the way he conducts himself. He conducts himself like a leader. And I know we were kind of cheated because he did have some injuries and it's been a very unfair season for him. And he's also had some healthy scratches too, which I don't really agree with. I think we talked about that before about he's a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. Let him play, you know? You can only benefit from someone like that. And I know Mackenzie Entwistle and Kirby Dach are both hurt. If they were in the lineup, I don't know if he would be healthy scratched again, but right now he's making the most of it. And I feel like you're getting exactly what you got for him, exactly what you expected. And I like the way he plays. I like the way he conducts himself. I have no problem with him staying on this team. I think he provides a lot more than what meets the eye. I know a lot of Blackhawk fans are kind of over him because of the salary and because he's been injured all year, but it hasn't been his fault. And what you're getting right now, especially he's doing a good job with Jonathan Toews, I think. And you know what? You got to just give him a chance, you know? And I think he's done a pretty good job. So I'm a fan of his. I hope he does stick around.
Me too.
But like you said, there's a lot of unknowns there, but I hope he does. I think he can only, yeah.
There's going to be some money to work with. You know, there's so many young kids that are on entry level and cheap contracts that you're going to be able to pay a handful of guys, you know, Alex Brinkett and Tyler Johnson or Jonathan or Kane or Toews, a little bit of money. And you have to have that balance of the youngsters and the veterans. So,
right. Yeah. Exactly. You need players like him to win, and Tampa knew that, which is why they won 2 Stanley Cups with him. They knew it. They knew his importance. So he knows his role. He doesn't try to be anything he's not. He knows he's not like a number 1 superstar, but he knows he's a good role player, and he does that well. So I hope he sticks around. So I wanted to talk about Boris Katchouk, and I think I mentioned it before, but something this week that has really stood out to me is how well he's done on the penalty kill. He's not going to give you a ton of goals, but on the penalty kill especially, he is creating a lot of shorthanded chances, and him and Sam Lafferty together, I think, do a really good job. So I don't know what Boris Katchouk's future is here. I think he might stick around for a few years. He's young, he's on a good contract, but if he does and he sticks on the penalty kill, I think they got something there with him. He does a lot of things right there defensively, and one of these days he will get a shorthanded goal. He had a couple this week, I think, against he had some chances against LA and Arizona. So I think they're there. One of these days we'll see something, but I like what he does too. He's like Tyler Johnson. He knows his role, does it pretty well. I like what I see from him too. And I know Taylor Radish was kind of the big name in that trade package, but now Boris Katchouk is kind of more making a name for himself lately too, which is nice to see.
And he's young still. I think he's only 24.
Yeah.
And I think you had actually mentioned it a couple episodes ago that he is very similar style and kind of a replacement for Ryan Carpenter.
Yes, completely agree with that. Those are players you need to. Can't go wrong with them. They're needed, and he can only get better, honestly, because he's so young. So we don't know what the full potential is there, but we might see more of it. So that's exciting too. So that brings us to our shootout round. Quick fire questions. Let's go, Gail. Let's see what we got here.
Ready.
Yeah, let's get your drinks on. We're get going. Okay. So the Blackhawks have 3 remaining games that are Philadelphia, which is tonight, Monday night, but by the time you get fans see it, it'll be Tuesday, so the game will already have been played. Vegas and Buffalo. How many points do they get?
Well, anyway, you guys, don't tell us what happens tonight, because you'll know, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going to say, I really just think they'll probably get 2. I think they'll just win 1 more game.
Yep.
2 points, either versus Philadelphia or Vegas Golden Knights. I hate to break it. Well, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think that they're going to lose the last game on the road against Buffalo and end the season on a sour note. I just feel it. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I think 2 points too is safe. I think that's kind of what we've been going with lately, but it's a safe bet because you can't bet on them to win multiple games in a row. You just can't with this team. So I think the 2 points will come against Philly. They don't do well in their house, but I think they have a chance to beat them in our house. So we'll see about that. Vegas and Buffalo are tough for the Blackhawks, especially Buffalo with how Buffalo's looking lately. Goodness.
They're looking really good. They're on like a bit of a streak, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. So I can't really bet against them either. So hopefully they prove us wrong, but we have to go safe here.
And I don't know. I think Vegas is pretty much out of it. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if they win out, they could have a chance to still be a wild card. So
yeah.
Gosh, I hope they come down to that.
Yeah, they look kind of out of it. So number 2, second round of the shootout. Alex DeBrincat finally scored goal number 40 in overtime against the Coyotes. Yes, that's very exciting. How many goals? There's 3 games left. How many goals will he end up with?
Okay, his record is 41. I definitely think he's going to break that. I think he's going to have 43 overall, 43 goals.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to go 42. I think me and you both predicted when we talked about this last time that he wasn't going to hit 50, but that he was going to be close.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's 44 or something. At the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, exactly. So I think 42. Yeah, I'm going to go 42, but pretty close. Pretty close.
So 2 or 3 more goals we're going to be expecting from DeBrincat. So watch the games, people.
Unless he gets a hat trick in every game, which I wouldn't put it past him.
Yep.
I wouldn't put it past him. Okay. Okay. Third round of the shootout. The Blackhawks are the only team in the league without a power play goal from a defenseman, which is, oh my gosh, how ridiculous is that? Although they have come close. I mean, Eric Gustafson hit the crossbar. Seth Jones has hit the crossbar a couple times. Point is, will they finally get one this final week?
Oh my gosh. Yes, I hope so. Yes. Anyway, I'd like to see Seth Jones not going home, but maybe it'll even be the rookie Alec Regula. He's been playing some time on the power play. So maybe.
Oh, I like that. I'm going to say no. Sorry to be a Debbie Downer here. I don't see it. I just don't see it. I felt like there was times last week where I was like, oh, they're finally going to get it, and they don't. So at this point, I have to say no. But I hope they prove me wrong, because literally going without one the whole season is, like I said, ridiculous, and I don't know how that happens. That's honestly incredible. They're the team of accomplishing feats that I did not know were possible. So that's just how it is. I shouldn't be surprised, but it is still surprising.
Oh, that's funny.
So round 4 of the shootout. There has been a game of musical chairs of defensemen being healthy scratch this week with Calvin DeHaan, although I just realized Calvin DeHaan is injured, so it might not be a healthy scratch technically for him. Riley Stillman, Eric Gustafson, and Caleb Jones being kind of the picks being in and out. Which one do you want to stop being healthy scratch going into the final games? Again, Calvin DeHaan is injured, so we might have to leave him out of the equation there.
Yeah, I know that he's been banged up, and so why play him? He's got nothing left to prove. Whoever is going to pick him up in the offseason, it's going to be a good pickup for them. And Gustafson, I've seen so many fall balls to last a lifetime. He can be done. Stillman has a nice little contract that's going for the next couple of seasons, although he is playing Monday. But who I would really like actually to play out the rest of the season would be Caleb Jones. He's a restricted free agent at the end of the season. So let him play those remaining games and give him a chance to prove that he can stay in Chicago.
Yes, I agree. I like Calvin DeHaan. I think we're both really big fans of him. If it was up to us, he would stay. But we're not making those decisions, unfortunately. Riley Stillman, I do know what, I'm going to go different from you. I agree with Caleb Jones because he's kind of the wild card at this point. I don't know if he'll stay or go, but he does deserve a chance to play, especially if he's not going to be here. But I'm going to go Riley Stillman. We've seen enough of Eric Gustafson. I think we all agree on that. We've seen enough of him even before he came back. It was just we were done at that point. But Riley Stillman, it seems like the Blackhawks are committed to him. It seems like they like him. So at this point, let him play too. Let's see what you got with him. He's young. Like I said, he'll be here a while. See what you got. I know it's not perfect, but I'd play him. I like him a lot too. In the short time he's been here, I actually like all of them, to be honest with you, except Gustafson. And it's not personal. It's just the way he plays is very upsetting sometimes. But sorry about that. So I'm going to say Riley Stillman for something different. Riley Stillman and Caleb Jones, I'm okay with.
Yep.
Okay, and then finally, our last shootout question. What is our final advice for Blackhawk fans to get through the final stretch? And this is more of a question for you, Gail, since you've had to talk me off the ledge a couple times. So what you got?
Okay, well, for this final stretch, I think that Blackhawks fans should savor the DeBrincat, Strome, and Kane line. I believe at least one of these dynamic players won't be around next season. Who knows? Maybe none of them will be around next season. I hate to say it, but we just don't know what the future holds. So I think that we should enjoy their magic while we can, and hopefully they'll show us some fun in the next final games.
I like it. I think someone said that too about, I don't know if we're watching the last games of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane here. So if you want some, just savor every moment. We don't know what's going to happen, but I think my advice would be, at least you're watching hockey. It might be very bad hockey that we're watching, but the second your team is out and you're watching other teams in the playoffs, you're like, dang, I really miss watching my team play hockey, hockey's the best sport in the world to watch. So at least, you're watching hockey. It's not pretty, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. It's
better than no hockey.
Live with that.
Yes.
But that's my advice. We're so close to the finish line. We're almost there. It's like senioritis. I know we're kind of over it, but we kind of also don't want it to end in a weird, sad way. So, you know what? Let's just savor what we got, because we won't have it again until, the fall. So let's just try to enjoy what we got. And there are some bright spots. There are some good players still worth watching. Some prospects, Kane, Taze, DeBrincat, Strome, still got some good people to watch. So that's what I'm telling myself to get through it.
Trying to talk yourself into it.
Exactly. I'm trying to, but I'm actually really doing it to convince myself. So if you guys got any advice to get through it, let me know. If it's kind of eating your way through it, I'm okay with that too. That's probably what I'll be doing too. But eating my way through it. But okay, so that will end today's Blackhawks banter. Thank you so much to our viewers for continuing to tune in and watch us every week. Next week will be even more exciting, because we have to kind of evaluate the season. Unfortunately, by the time we do this, it'll be over, and that's really upsetting. So, but again, thank you guys for watching. We love you guys so much. Thank you for your comments and your support. We try to reply to everyone. Please follow us on Twitter. Talk to us there. We love hearing from you guys. And thank you again, Gail, as always, for being the best colleague ever and doing the show with us. And thank you to Matthew, who does our behind the scenes, does the show every week with us. We appreciate you so much. And make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube, and follow our content on the Hockey Writers. And we'll see you next week. Hopefully the Hawks get one win here, at least a win for us this week to close it out. Good night, guys.